So the International Swimming Federation voted over the weekend to ban transgender athletes from swimming in competitions if they have undergone male puberty. They will now open a new category called open category for these types of athletes.
We have to protect the rights of all our athletes to compete. But we also have to protect competitive fairness at our events, especially women's competition, and also the past record and achievement of the women. It is a policy that is based on science. It is a policy that we need to introduce in order to protect the competitive fairness of our event. However, I completely understand that this is a policy which will not be supported by some of our transgender athletes.
Yeah, you think there's going to be certainly debate about this, right?
Well, let's clarify the rules then. The rules about puberty state that a swimmer must not have undergone any part of male puberty beyond Tanner stage 2 of puberty or before age 12. Now, Tanner is a tool used for measuring puberty stages. For boys, stage 2 begins between the ages of 9 and 14. So presumably, since the cutoff is 12, right, some boys could have had a growth spurt between 9 and 12 and then transitioned, but let's not parse, right? According to the Cleveland Clinic, though, other indications of Tanner stage 2 involve genital development, growth of hair in those places, and an increase in height by 2 to 2.5 inches per year. Now, a trans rights group spoke out against this ruling, pointing out that trans women produce about the same amount of testosterone after going through hormone therapy, which may be true, but hormones are not the only thing at issue here, right? It is also about the fact that the male body has a larger cardiovascular system, up to 40% more. This is the tweet we're talking about.
What does it say?
So this is a trans rights group saying, we're disappointed about FINA's vote to prevent trans women in major sports competitions. And they go on to say that after hormone replacement therapy, trans women produce the same testosterone as those of normal women, right? But again, it's not just about the chemicals, the hormones, right? It's about the physical changes in the body that are brought on by puberty, right? And so I think it's interesting to ask a couple of questions. One, will this make it more fair for female athletes to compete on a more level playing field? For instance, a female athlete who has not had a transition to a full puberty, which makes the body bigger, right, in certain areas that are beneficial to the sport, right? And so a girl will have a biological girl will have a harder time competing, clearly. But the open category does not seem like an easy thing to define either. That seems like a nightmare. Like, how do you define who competes in the open category? Is it only, let's see, biological males that have transitioned to female but also gone through their puberty? Then that's its own category.
I mean, maybe
everybody who's not trans would get the right to choose to swim in that category, except this exclusionary group, which also I think is a problem. And then I also think it's strange that it only has to do with male to female swimmers. It does not have anything to do with trans men, right? So why are only trans women applicable to this rule?
I thought about that too.
It says to me that the rule is only about winning, right?
Well, that's at the end of the day. I mean, look, I think that's absolutely what's happening here. I mean, so Leah Thomas, here's Leah Thomas, right? Who was I don't know how to describe, a man that transitioned to a woman.
Yes,
right? And
she
then
went
competed.
all the way through her puberty as a boy and transitioned late in her teens and has been allowed to swim against in the women's categories and this has made it challenging for other competitors.
Well, specifically Riley
I just
Gaines,
feel
who
like-
was an NCAA swimmer in this category, right? So they have this competition. Riley Gaines tied Leah Thomas in a heat, okay? And when then the NCAA came to, when they were doing the awards ceremony, and they were tied for this, I think, 5th place. The female was told, you can't.
They're both female.
They're both female. Riley Gaines was told that she can't, you just stand off the podium. We're going to let Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer, take the award and stand up here. Here's how Riley Gaines explained this. Listen.
I think there's, a difference between your sex and your gender identity. And so I think that it's just been totally misconstrued and lost, in the past couple years or so, but it's, finally gotten to the point where it's being shown and it's completely violating women and women's rights, especially in sports.
And so the point is that they're dominating these like, how are you I don't even know how to say it without getting like in trouble, right? Like
Well, then don't, because I don't.
At the heart of it is the issue of competition. I mean,
yes.
I'm trying to say it. I can say it. I'm just saying, like, I was a swimmer my whole life, right? Played water polo my whole life. So there's a reason that there was women's competitions and men's competitions. Like physically, you're different.
Right. And so this is a sports organization saying that we have always recognized the different biologies of different bodies, and we are going to try and make it fair so that you are competing on a level playing field with someone who has had the same sort of biological history as you, and we will open up a category that's separate. But the questions that remain here is, will this spill over into other sports, right? Is it necessary, let's say, for golf? Is it necessary for, I'm not sure. And should it apply to both transitions, right? So for instance, in Abigail Shrier's book, she talks about a person who transitions, a woman to man transition, so transgendered man, who then trains as a ballet dancer in the male roles that he's never been trained in before. And some of the female ballet dancers were getting hurt because this female to male trans man had no experience and no strength to really be lifting athletes like this, right? And so is there a safety concern for both genders? Is there a way we can open up categories that's fair in all sports? I think these are the sort of accepting questions. There's nothing here that I care to broadcast as like, why do you want to do this? Or who even are you? Or anything like that. That's not what we're here to ask. We're asking, how is it safe? How is it fair? And how can we ask these questions and not be called hateful for asking them?
Right. Okay. So like I saw someone in the chat saying golf. Right. So a man can hit a golf ball further than a biological woman. Right. A biological man.
I don't know. Are you challenging me?
I've seen you hit a golf ball.
I'm terrible. Yeah. I can't
But
drive more than
for the
200.
most part, yes. That's there. That there's a history of having the women's golf tees starting at this level and further up and whatever. So we can get into a debate about who's the better golfer or whatever. But like the strength, the musculature of a man is going to hit the ball further, right? That's just okay. Well, then what happens then if a person, a woman transitions to a man? A man transitions to a woman and then takes place in the LPGA, right? Wants to start playing women's golf,
Yes.
right? And is just like crushing the competition.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
is that fair?
Absolutely, it's not fair. And you see these athletes' parents who say, look, I woke up every day at 4 a.m. to take my daughter to swim practice, and she can't compete, against athletes who have this unfair advantage. But again, I think that the questions here, it's possible to be respectful of someone's choice to transition. And it's also possible to have respect for people who have not transitioned.
What if there's just like a trans golf association.
Sure.
But then,
right.
like, how would you categorize? 'Cause
But
then
I
you have
guess
trans
what's
men,
like,
trans-
what if I want to compete in a man's category, having lived my whole life as a woman, right? And then but then it's harder for me to compete rather than easier, right? Um, would this law similarly protect me? Because it seems like under these guidance, that still can happen.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. You know, we've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.